Hello, people of the internet. My name is Colin Steiner. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Siesta Podcast. And yeah, it's been a minute. I've tried recording this like 4 times, and I've gone through like maybe 7 to 10 minutes. I just haven't been pleased with it. So this is my last attempt. So hopefully it'll go well. But I stopped doing this 2.5, maybe 3 years ago because I just kind of lost interest. But now I just want to get stuff off my chest and just kind of release some thoughts that I've had about the Browns, and a couple other things. So who knows what'll happen. I'm not going to edit this. This is what you see, what you hear is what you get. It's so much easier to record it, place it into my project that I have with the music, and then just let it all flow. And you go with it. Just go with it. But yeah, I'll talk about the Browns a little bit today, and then I'll talk about my novel that I'm writing. I'm excited to talk about that. It's a first for me, that's for sure. It's probably the longest project and most intense project I've ever worked on. So let's save that for the end. But I'm glad to be back. This is going to be exciting. I don't know how scheduled this thing will be. It's just kind of one of the things that I was like walking around my house, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to record an episode and see what happens. So let's just jump into it and let's talk about the Browns. It's been an interesting offseason. We've made some key additions to our defensive line, and we've added a couple solid wide receivers with Elijah Moore, Cedric Tillman, who I think he's a rookie that we drafted. I think he'll be an insanely good talent. His hands are very good. His height is even better. A 6'3" wide receiver. Let me tell you, I am a huge fan of tall wide receivers. I mean, they're just so helpful for the quarterback. It allows you to put the ball in places that shorter receivers can't. And shorter receivers are great for speed, but a lot of times you just don't get that reach that you have with taller wide receiver. So he'll be fun to watch. I think he has a chance to be a long-term wide receiver option for this team. And yeah, it's this wide receiver core is going to be fun to watch. We have Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, who everyone seems to forget. We get all excited about these. I mean, as we should. We should get excited for some of these players, but DPJ has been such a great pick and such a great part of this team over the course of the last 3 years, and I really hope that we can find a way to extend him and keep him on this team, because I do feel, even though he's a Michigan man, I do feel he adds a lot to this team, and I really don't want to see him go. So I think he's going to have a great year, especially with Deshaun Watson as quarterback. I think he has a chance to really excel. And like I said, Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Elijah Moore, who we got from the Jets. I mean, he'll be a really, really good pick this year. I think we traded our, was it second round or pick for him this year, and I'll pick that up any day. He's a young player that has a lot of strong potential. And then, like I said, Cedric Tillman, and then who else? David Bell, who we got last year. We have a very solid wide receiver core, and there was a lot of talk about the Browns getting DeAndre Hopkins this offseason, and I don't want to come off as like we're too good for him, but he's an older receiver that was asking a lot of money that we don't have. We're going to deal with a lot of cap issues come next season, and it really didn't make sense to have him for 1 year, and it didn't really make sense to have him on the team, honestly. I mean, I'm not denying his ability, but I don't think, one, we could afford him, and I don't think it would have been good for the other players that we have when it comes to contracts and stuff like that. But we didn't get him. He's now with, I believe, the Tennessee Titans, and I think they're going to be a fun team to watch now. I mean, Ryan Tannehill, don't put it past him. He's been a solid QB. He's fallen off the last couple of years, but with Derrick Henry, they're a very run-heavy team, and they can do some damage in the team. But I definitely think there are a lot of teams better than them. So the Browns wide receiver core is going to be great. And obviously, you gotta talk about Nick freaking Chubb. I want this man to retire as a Cleveland Brown. I have said it before. He has potential to be, and he honestly already is, one of the best running backs the Cleveland Browns have ever had. I mean, you have Jim Brown at the top, who I don't think anybody will really pass. He's one of the best running backs to ever play in the NFL. But if you're talking about like Nick Chubb, I really don't know who else is better than him other than Jim Brown. He has been such a driving force that has averaged over 5 yards per carry in his entire NFL career. That is insane. You think about that. He has played since 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. He's played for 5 seasons, and in those 5 years, he has averaged over 5 yards a carry. That is insane. That it just, every time I think about it, it just blows my mind away, and it makes me want to utilize him so much more. Like, there were times where if we don't give him at least 20 rushing attempts a game, then that game honestly is a failure in my book. And I forget what the stat was last year, but I think almost every game we lost, Nick Chubb didn't get 20 carries. And I understand that a lot of time you're playing from behind, but it honestly starts out of the gate too. Because there were times where the Browns would open up their first drive and immediately pass. And he wouldn't even really get to touch the ball until the second. I mean, if you don't run it on first or second down and you don't have 2 incomplete passes, you're going to have to pass it on third down because you're just in a longer situation. And then if you don't get that, then you have to punt. And sometimes we wouldn't see Nick Chubb till the second possession the Browns had on offense. And that really is a shame, because that was my biggest complaint with Kevin Stefanski, aside from him always wanting to go for it on fourth down instead of kicking a freaking field goal. Don't even get me started on that. I hope I'm on the end of my last straw with Kevin Stefanski. I kind of wanted to move on from him this year, but I was like, you know what? One more season. I'll give him one more season with a full season with Deshaun Watson and Amari Cooper. But if this doesn't work out, I think it's time to part ways. And honestly, that's one of the biggest things, because your Cade York was a rookie kicker, and he still did pretty decent. I mean, first game, I'm not saying he was perfect. He definitely missed some key kicks that kind of cost us a couple games there. But you're not setting him up for a lot of confidence if on fourth down and you're at your own 20 and you're like, you know what, we're going to go for it here. And then you don't get it. And then you don't get the points. I mean, that's only if you're at your own 20, that's a 37-yard field goal. Like he should make that. If he doesn't, that's not on the coach. That's on the player. But I'm really tired of us not taking the points and just trying to be greedy, and especially early on in the game. He does it so much, especially in the first quarter. The amount of times we've had we were in the red zone, and instead of kicking the field goal, we went for it on fourth down. We didn't get it, and then they go down and score. And it just turns into a bad situation. And then like I said, you fall behind, and then you have to pass the ball way more than utilize Nick Chubb. So that's where I'm very hesitant with the play calling from Kevin Stefanski. I want us to start the running game early. Bring that secondary up closer, because if he's getting off big yard gains, they're going to have to bring their safeties up, and their cornerbacks are going to have to play tighter, and same thing with the linebackers. And if all of them are playing tighter, that is your opportunity to go long. This is your opportunity to go long to Amari Cooper, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Cedric Tillman if he's out there, David Njoku, all these players that are great deep threats. And honestly, you can't have a solid pass game unless you have a good running game. And the Browns have one of the best running games in the league. Utilize it, please. That's really what I want to see this year, is them just to take advantage of Nick Chubb and to make their running game the best in the league. Because if you can make the running game the best in the league, your passing game it'll open up so much doors for it. And with our great wide receiver crew, I forgot to put in Elijah Moore in there. He's also one of those great receivers, but that we couldn't go long to. But it's gonna be a fun season. I am very confident in this team. I'm not going to say that we're going to win the Super Bowl. I'm not. I used to be one of those guys that say, you know what, this is the year that we actually dominate the league. No, I'm not going to say that. I will say that I think we have a very strong possibility of doing well and making the playoffs at the very least. I think we have the opportunity to maybe have a 10-win season again. But I definitely, if things can definitely spiral in the wrong direction, and you can definitely lose, only win about 7 or 8 games, and that at that point you're not making the playoffs. I mean, I think I said 9-8 was a very strong possibility after looking at the schedule, but I wouldn't put it past it to be 11-6. I think that's also a strong possibility. It all depends on how we deal with the play calling. It all starts with the play calling in our goals for the season. So that's what I thought about the Browns. I think we have the first preseason game is against the New York Jets, and at the Pro Football Hall of Fame, just about 40-minute drive south from Cleveland. That should be fun. Congrats to Joe Thomas, who is finally and is much well deserved first round ballot Hall of Famer. And I tried to get tickets. Well, I was going to get. I didn't really try. I looked up tickets a couple days after they became available. They were already sold out. So I didn't really have a chance there. Everyone here wanted to see the local Cleveland Brown legend get enshrined into the Hall of Fame. So that'll be awesome. So congrats, Joe. We are so happy for you. Couldn't happen to anyone better. What was it? Over 10,500 snaps or something. That's insane. I don't see that streak ever being broken, especially in this day and age. It just boggles my mind. So that was my talk about the Browns. Now let me shift into my talk about my book. So yeah, I wrote a novel, guys. This was something I was going back and forth on doing for so long. And then I was like, you know what? Let's do it. Let's sit down. Let's just start writing. Let's think of ideas and let's try and come up with a solid novel idea. So I want to give thanks to a couple authors out there that kind of inspired me to do so. And the first person is Lee Child, who is the author of the Jack Reacher series. He was actually the first guy that I started reading because I watched the Reacher series on Prime, which is maybe one of my favorite series of all time. I'm so excited for season 2. And I watched that series. I was like, you know what? Let's check out the books and see how they are. And I was like, okay. I didn't get the Killing Floor, which is what the first season is based off of. I got One Shot, which was actually made into a movie that starred Tom Cruise. And I was like, you know what? Let's read this, see how it is. Love that book. So well adapted for a movie from a book. I thought it was really well put together, and it actually correlated really well. Obviously, you're not going to have a perfect adaptation from a book when you're making a movie, but I thought it was really well put together. But then I read that one, and I read a couple others, and then it just got me hooked. I was like, this is actually kind of fun. I wonder what it was like to read a book. To write a book. And then I started reading the James Reese books. I watched The Terminal List, which was on Amazon Prime as well, but I started writing my book before it. I read that before I watched it, actually. I did a vice versa than the Reacher series. And I was like, this is a really good good book as well. And I was like, okay, this is inspiring me. This makes me want to write my own series. And that was when the Ryan Blake series was born. And if you haven't heard, I've posted it on a lot of my socials. It's the book I wrote is called Ryan Blake Digging for Answers. And I actually have the proof copy, which I'm currently editing right now. And let me just read the kind of the premise for you guys. So, ex-Green Beret Ryan Blake is enjoying civilian life after spending almost 14 years in the battlefield. During his time in the Army, he served courageously as an expert sniper and a specialized rifleman. After getting wounded during a mission on his 7th tour, he is medically discharged and returns home a local hero. Now that he's out, he has a wife, a best friend, and of course, a dog. His wife, Hannah Williams, and best friend and former professor, Mike Davidson, are searching for the lost amulet of the Aztecs. What was just a simple treasure hunt turns into something sinister. Just when Ryan thinks he found a groove in life, trouble comes knocking when his wife suddenly goes missing. Blake will do whatever it takes to find his wife, find the treasure, and bring those responsible to justice. Ryan Blake will have to use his skills he's developed over the years to run the most personal mission of his life. Now, that was the original premise was just a treasure hunt, and I kept having to expand on it and having adding a lot more behind like the oppositions, the antagonists, like reasoning, because it's one of those things where I was writing the book, and as I was writing, I was like, why are they doing this? What is their prerogative? What is their end goal here? And I would say about 3/4 of the way through the book when I was like, you know what, let's add another element. And that element is actually a major plot once you get through the book. So it was a fun time to add, because fun thing to do, because there's so much you can do when it comes to the creative mind. I have in my mind, and I'll actually have it written down, I have the next 4 books kind of planned out. And after you write your first book, you learn so much more about the process. So there is like so much more that I wish I would have done differently. Like when it comes to the like process of adding stuff in, like the storyboard, the editing too. Like holy crap, the editing process that I'm still going through it. It's a process in itself. It's like rewriting your entire book essentially, because what I didn't realize is how many freaking mistakes I had as I was writing it. It was like, especially grammatically, I was like, you're writing this book and you're writing, my book is 113,000 words. And I got to a point, I was like, how did I not recognize this as I was writing? It's like, this is simple. This is as obvious as day and night. Like, I don't know how I missed it this much. So that was an interesting process. I've edited through my book. I'm on the final edits. I have the first 130 pages completely done. And I don't want to go back, and I'm at the point where I don't want to go back and reread it again or try and edit it again, because then I'm just getting nitpicky. I know right off the bat, this book isn't going to be perfect. I'm a self-published author here. I don't have the money to have my own team, to buy editors, to get it published traditionally or go through that process. No, I'm doing this all on my own with the help of Amazon's KDP, the Kindle Direct Publishing, and they're great to work with. If you ever write a book, highly recommend working with them, because they help you through every step of the way. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to know how to do some graphic design. So my cover I made by myself, but I wouldn't have known what the dimensions were if they didn't help me out. That was a big thing. You go through once you're done with your book, and also make the cover. You can have a cover in mind, but make the cover after you edit your book. I want to make that very clear. Oh man, because if you're going through the KDP and you edit your book and you add pages, after you edit and format your book, let me be clear about that, because once you format it, it changes the pages, and that changes how thick your book would be. If you're just doing it from a digital, if you're just releasing it on an ebook or something onto a Kindle, then you don't have to worry about that. Make the front of your book however you want. But if you're making a paperback and a hard copy, then I highly recommend waiting to do that after, because the amount of times I've had to go through my book again and re-edit the cover, I've done that about 5 times just because I've had to reshape the size. That was such a headache. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to do that this time. To the next time, I'm going to go through it, edit, go through, format, then make my final edits, and then I go into the cover, because it was such a headache and honestly such a waste of time. I probably wasted about maybe 3 hours making covers that were just ended up being useless. So keep that in mind if you ever write a book. So I'm just really excited to release it because, like I said, I've never done something like this before where I've worked on something for over a year and a half. Believe I'm in my 15th or 16th month working on it. I can't remember when I started. I know I started last year, but now that I know the process, I'm hoping that when I write the second one, because I do plan on making a sequel, because like I said, the Ryan Blake series is alive and well. Now it will be. In order to have a series, you have to have more books. So that's what I want to do with the second. But getting back to it, the process is just, you learn so much more after you write your first book, and you know how to go about things in an easier way. So I'm excited to start the second one now. I've worked on this first book for so long that I think it's a great book, don't get me wrong, but you work on it for so long that you're ready for something new. It's not like you don't hate it. I mean, I love my book. I'm very proud of the content I've made with it, and I really hope people enjoy it and are excited for a sequel. So, because I sure am excited for a sequel. But it'll, now that I know the process, I know the what makes mistakes I did, what to keep an eye on going forward, I think I'll be able to get the second book out a lot quicker. So, I'm a very, like, I want things to, I don't have much patience. Okay. I wanted to release this book as fast as possible. So I was originally going to have it scheduled for early December, late November. And then it was like, I really don't want to wait that long. I'm almost done editing this thing. And then what? I've spent 4 months promoting it. Yeah, that's great if you're an experienced author, but honestly for me, like, I want to get this thing out. So I kept moving it forward. I thought October was going to be my release date, but I was like, let's release it earlier. So I finally came down with the release date of September 20th of 2023, which is just under 2 months. And I still need to finish my final edits. So I mean, I have a month and a half before I can release it. So I have time. But I'm just excited. Thank you to everyone that has helped out. It's just been so helped out, encouraged me to keep going, because it's been a very long and very tedious process, that's for sure. So thank you guys for letting me spiel. I know some of this probably didn't make any sense. I know a lot of it is just kind of coming off as a whim. I recorded this so many times, and I don't plan on editing this, so hopefully you guys enjoyed this podcast. If you did like it, feel free to hit the subscribe button or whatever site. I don't even know where this releases anymore. I just know want people to enjoy it. So hopefully you guys enjoy, and I will be looking forward to seeing you next time, and looking forward to when you guys get my book. So thank you guys for listening, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.